You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening to the HollowNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network from beautiful sunny Phoenix, Arizona. I'm your host, Matt Holloway. Today is Sunday, January the 28th in the year of our Lord 2018, and it is the end of year one of the Trumpian Age. Year one began on the 26th of 2017, January 26th, 2017, with the premiere episode of the HollowNet podcast. Now that we've closed that year off, we need to look back and review the first year of the Trumpian Age. All that and more coming up here on the HollowNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. Stick around.
Lanterns authorization code accepted. Logging in. Your access to the HollowNet has been approved. Please stand by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to the HollowNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. The new conservative resistance begins right here, right now.
And imposed upon the patriotic people of this country a responsibility and a duty greater than that of any citizen of civil war.
We are called as a people to give testimony in the sight of the world to our faith that the future shall belong to the free. Since this century's beginning, a time of tempest has seemed to come upon the continents of the earth.
It is the common people of the world who are interested in this business. They know when we have war, it is they that have to bear the burden. It's their sisters and mothers and daughters that have to wait, trembling, to hear the news.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. And let me remind you also that moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue.
I want the people of America to be able to work less for the government and more for themselves. I want them to have the rewards of their own industry. This is the chief meaning of freedom. Until we can reestablish a condition under which the earnings of the people can be kept by the people, we are bound to suffer a very severe and distinct curtailment of our liberty.
We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island, or a large part of it, was subjugated and starving, and our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the new world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HollowNet on Lanterns Media Network. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins here.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. You are listening to the HollowNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm your host, Matt Holloway. How'd you like that new intro? What'd you guys think of that? It doesn't matter! No, it really doesn't matter what you think of the new intro. Yeah, that's as good as it gets here. I don't have a production staff, so, it's just like that. Until we get, like, a full studio situation, that's as good as it's gonna get, man. That's as good as it's gonna get. I think it's a pretty dang good intro. Let me know your comments and thoughts. We are online right now, Facebook Live. That is facebook.com/HollowNet. You can tweet us at the HollowNet, at Matt D. Holloway. Make sure you get your stuff in there. We're also on patreon.com if you would like to avail yourself of some beautiful swag like this here, genuine limited edition, extremely limited, there's only one, limited edition HollowNet coffee mug. I'm trying to see if we can get a little bit of a mug group, because I can't call it a mug organization or anything like that, because another prominent conservative YouTuber does that. Yeah. Anyway, I was just watching one of my favorite YouTubers, a guy also named Matt, and he has launched this whole big line of swag to try to bring funding into his channel, and I'm like, man, I really need to get my hands on that kind of marketing material to get my show off the ground. But no, I really don't. What I need is I need for my show to be good enough, to be strong enough at the end of the day where you feel good about logging on to patreon.com and pledging that $1, pledging that $5, where if you want to get the word out for your business, you're glad to spend that $72 on a 30-second spot, or $125 on a 60-second spot to get an ad on our show, where you feel that your show, your business rather, meets the same general conservative constitutionalist flow that we have here at the HollowNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. And if that's the case, man, I'm telling you, log on to patreon.com or makersupport.com, make your mark, and support the HollowNet podcast, and also support lanterns.buzz. You can find Lanterns Patreon account out there as well. Great organization. Love working with Lanterns. Been with Lanterns now for a whole year. Can you believe it? It has been an entire year since we began this voyage with the Lanterns Media Network. It's absolutely insane. So here we go, celebrating 1 year with the Lanterns Media Network, the HollowNet podcast. That's the best fanfare you can actually get without paying anybody. So, freemusicarchive.com, hashtag not a sponsor, but that's where you want to go if you don't want to get sued. So, year one of the Trumpian Age. Now, this morning I did something that was thoroughly self-serving. I hopped on and I listened to the first ever episode of the HollowNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network. I listened to the dawn of the Trumpian Age, dated January 26th in the year of our Lord 2017. And we have come such a long way, but at the same time, we haven't come far enough. No, we haven't. I don't believe that we've met nearly the goals, the lofty ideals that I held for this program. And I want to just give a quick shout out to Amy and Blake right now joining us live on Facebook Live. I know Stephen Airy usually pops up on there. AJ Davis also from Common Sense Radio. But Blake Johnson from the BJP, the Blake Johnson program, my Lantern's brother right there. I wanted to give a big shout out and thank everybody for watching live today. We haven't met our goals. Our goals for the HollowNet podcast, my goals for the HollowNet podcast, for pouring my heart out to you for an hour a week, every week, was to make it okay for people to host political disagreements and to move on from there. And, you know, I'm taking a look at Google right now because Google realistically has dominated the conversation in all facets of the United States and really is taking over the world. Let's be blunt. Google runs the damn planet. Okay, that is not hyperbole at all. And one of the biggest ways that you can tell the way people feel, one of the biggest indicators of the vox populi, you know, the voice of the people, is by doing an autocomplete on Google. Isn't that mind-boggling? Try this little experiment for yourself. If you have Google Chrome, this really helps. Go into incognito mode, where it's not using your caching and Google's not using their memory of you to proceed from, okay? It's a blank slate. So if I type in Donald Trump is, I come up with the following answers. Donald Trump Israel, which doesn't really apply. Donald Trump is awesome. Donald Trump is dead. Secret Service, do not show up here. That's just Google. That's not me. Donald Trump is gaslighting America, which is kind of weird because that's a story that I wrote like a year ago. Donald Trump is my president. Donald Trump is the 45th president. Donald Trump is president. Donald Trump is a dinosaur. That's interesting. And Donald Trump is good. So that's the Google autocomplete results that I get on incognito mode in Google. Now, if we check this out, we can say Republicans are. Okay? And we get Republicans are losing. Republicans are red. Republicans are the worst. Republicans are scumbags. Republicans are fascist. Republicans are better for the economy, because they are. Republicans are conservatives, and Republicans are sociopaths. Good Lord. All right, let's try this now. Democrats are. Democrats are evil. Democrats are racist. Democrats are stupid. Democrats are communists. Democrats are hypocrites. Democrats are liberals. Democrats are losing. Democrats are blue or red. And Democrats are in trouble. So this is off of my Google. And here, I'll show you my screen real quick. I'm going to pan over to my screen and see if that'll resolve there. This is actually my computer screen, okay? On incognito mode of Google Chrome. These are the real, live, real-time results that I am currently getting from Google. All right? I'm not making this crap up. This is honest-to-God work. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to say Trump voters are. This gets interesting because you remember what he said about Republicans, right? It seemed rather positive, believe it or not. But now Trump voters are. Trump voters are deplorable. Trump voters are scum. Trump voters are to blame. Trump voters are delusional. Trump voters are insane. Trump voters are uneducated. Trump voters, who are they? Trump voters are responsible. Trump voters are getting what they deserve. Whoa, that took a little bit of a darker tone, didn't it? So, I want to think back to the heady days when we launched the HollowNet podcast and where we are now versus where we are then. Are we closer together or are we further apart? Are we more divided now than we were 1 year ago? What are the differences between 1 year ago and where we are now? What are the results of year one of the Trumpian age? And I will say that in the context of the goals that I had when I launched the HollowNet podcast, I initially felt that I had failed because I had not accomplished what I sought to, which was bringing people with differing opinions together. And it strikes me that I cannot shoulder the full mantle of that responsibility myself. I've invited many people to appear on the HollowNet podcast, and many have declined to come on. I've had many different voices. We had third-party problems this past year, which was our best single grossing episodes. Well, not grossing money-wise, because we're not there. But grossing as far as listenership and viewership. That was the biggest interest, was the third-party problems. I think we need to explore that more, because I think the dialectic is crumbling. It is crumbling around us, and I think that Donald Trump's presidency will not see the end of Donald Trump in politics. I think he's honestly going to get in again in 2020. I think what we may see is the end of the edifices of old. We may see the end of the Republican Party as we recognize it, and the Democratic Party as we recognize them. Now we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the differences from a year ago to today, the changes that have come in year one of the Trumpian Age. You're listening to the HollowNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. I'm Matt Holloway. Stick around. I see people coming together not for divisiveness of party or for dichotomy of thought, but for unity in principle. In the principles that founded our nation, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, ladies and gentlemen, those principles are under the sternest attack that we have seen in many generations. It has become a crime in this nation nearly to express a difference in opinion from what is held by your party to be doctrine, from what is purported by the media to be truth. We have an opportunity to reach out to our fellow Americans regardless of their creed and regardless of their political inclinations, and unite as Americans, not as Republicans or as Democrats, as liberals or conservatives, but to unite around the principles that have guided this nation so well. I've covered a lot of stories, but the story that remains untold is the story of America in the 21st century, when we choose to turn back the tide against progressive socialism, when we choose to embrace the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights, when we remember what it is to be Americans. And that principle will not die as long as there is one man, one woman, one child who looks defiantly into the night and says, I am free.
You're listening to the HollowNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. The new conservative resistance begins right here, right now.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HollowNet on Lanterns Media Network. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins here.
We're back. You're listening to the HollowNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network, live from Phoenix, Arizona. I am your host, Matt Holloway. Now, we have, on Tuesday, the State of the Union address coming up from President Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States, known by his detractors and some of his supporters as the God Emperor Trump, otherwise known as, small hands by some people who get a kick out of that joke, but known by this broadcast as President Trump. I've made it a point over the past year not to sit here and take jabs at the guy just because I was a Ted Cruz supporter. I've made it a big point not to sit here and be a blind cheerleader who just calls out his accomplishments and continually kneels in praise. No, I'm the guy sitting in the middle just wondering,
has the planet gone mad?
Because if you take a look at either side of the media stream, if you look at the left, they continually go into varying states of apoplexy at the very mention of Donald Trump's name. If there's a story that comes out that says President Donald Trump used the restroom today, then they would absolutely find something wrong with that statement to imply that he's a racist, that he's a bigot, that he's a homophobe, that he's sexist, that he somehow did this at the expense of a woman, and that he's ruining the world, and that he's Islamophobic, and all these other horrible things. And even the tiniest crack in his image or his armor is celebrated by the left, and it's decried by the right, and vice versa. And this is no different. I mean, this is absolutely no different when we're taking a look at the news stories that are just coming out announcing the State of the Union is coming up on Tuesday. You get two entirely different views. The best that I've seen so far are from The Hill, which writes, Trump's year one report card is in, and it isn't pretty. Note it's a lovely opinion piece. And, so they one really great statement here. It's half-hearted at best. And this, by the way, is from Maria Cardona, opinion writer. Maria writes, on the economy, the economy is doing well, but contrary to what Trump and his spokespeople would have us believe, it cannot be all attributed to Donald Trump. His predecessor, President Obama, was the one who made the tough decisions and implemented the right policies to get the American economy on track and growing again after the Great Recession. Now, hold up. I just want to take that assessment right there, and I just kind of want to throw that back. Isn't this a throwback to the old argument from the early 90s that Clinton wasn't really responsible for the fantastic budget that he landed in, that it was actually Reagan and Bush? I know. It suddenly works when it's on your side of the fence, doesn't it? That, oh no, President Trump isn't responsible for the economic benefits that have come to this country. No, those are due to President Obama's changes. She goes on, Trump was handed an economy on the upswing. When Obama left office, he had presided over the biggest run of private sector job creation in history. More jobs were created in President Obama's last year than were created in Trump's first year in office. Now we have to go to the flip side of the coin. The opposite tribe, if you will, because all things are tribal now. Jobs in the Economy writes the WashingtonExaminer.com in their story, Year 1 lists 81 major Trump achievements, 11 Obama legacy items repealed. They list, saw the Dow Jones reach record highs. A rebound in economic confidence to 17-year high. New executive order to boost apprenticeships. Creation of 1.7 million new jobs, cutting employment to 4.1%. Increase of the GDP above 3%. Passage of a tax reform bill providing $5.5 billion in cuts and repealing the Obamacare mandate. They also list killing job-stifling regulations, fair trade, boosting U.S. energy dominance, among other key attributes here. So we really do have to ask the standard question. This should be the question that you grab hold of every time you read one of these stories or hear about them. How much direct impact does the President of the United States have on the economy? There are a couple of areas. Regulation, trade agreements, and really how good you feel and how good Wall Street feels. And that's difficult to index. You know, you have your consumer confidence reports and things like that and the general feel of the stock market. But many, many sources predicted the stock market would go into a tailspin as a result of the election of President Donald Trump. It didn't. It spiked to numbers we've never seen before. But is that all attributable purely to President Trump? I would disagree. I think that's attributable to the direction that the country is heading, and that can also be partially attributed to a conservative-controlled Congress. To the fact that we passed the tax reform bill that cut taxes by $5.5 billion, and that the Obamacare mandate was repealed. I mean, the regulation cuts, there were 16 rules and regulations cut for every one that was created, saving U.S. businesses a combined $8.1 billion, according to the Examiner. These are not small things. At the same time, you do have to wonder how much of the economic growth that we've seen is attributable to the Trump White House. Is any of it attributable to the Obama White House or what they did on their way out? I say I doubt it highly. Because America, corporate America and Main Street America, voted in droves out of sheer survival instinct. Because the Trump administration was taking step after step after step to actively kill the American economy. And it shows. You had such capital flight during the Obama years. You had companies outsourcing and offshoring at a breakneck pace. Now you have companies rushing to come back to the United States. What has changed in the intervening period? The fact that we have a Republican in the White House, a businessman in the White House, gives them great confidence that they can get the type of environment they need to prosper. Now, I'm not going to continue to salivate all over the president's shoes here. I do not believe that he can claim 100% responsibility for it, although with an upcoming election season, I have no doubt that he will. But at the same time, we have to face the facts that the economy, since the dawn of the Trumpian Age, has come roaring back to life. And Democrats can't stand it because they can't sell it. And you know what else they can't sell? DACA, if it gets fixed before November. When we come back, we're going to talk about Senator Chuck Schumer's sudden drop of the DACA crusade like a hot potato. Why do you think that is? I have a theory. And we're going to talk about that when we come back from this quick break. You're listening to the HollowNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network. I'm your host, Matt Holloway. Stick around.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
McDonald, it's true. Has it happened to you? 'Cause it starts with a dime, it ends with a dollar. Makes me wanna get up and holler, hey! What has it happened to you? 'Cause it's happening all around, and no one's making a sound about it. We gotta take back America, 1, 2, 3. Take back America, you and me. Take back America, or we're all screwed.
Here at the New Conservative Resistance, we understand if you don't get enough of the HollowNet. So, we've made it easy for you. To find the latest on Matt Holloway, whether it be blogs or radio podcasts, go to thehollownet.com or hollownet.lanterns.buzz.
Action ends up in rubble. I think we could be in for a whole lot of trouble. Hey! What has it happened to you? Because it's happening all around, and no one's making a sound. No one's making a sound. No one's making a sound.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HollowNet on Lanterns Media Network. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins here.
We're back. You're listening to the HollowNet Podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm your host, Matt Holloway. Now, before the break, I led into Senator Chuck Schumer's sudden about-face on DACA negotiations. We go to Business Insider. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is playing hardball with President Donald Trump's proposed border wall after the president late last week rejected his deal that included funding for it. During a meeting with the White House on Friday, hours before the proposed government shutdown, Schumer offered Trump partial funding for his long-promised wall along the Mexico border, which, side note, by the way, added up to not very much of what was needed. In exchange for protections for nearly 700,000 unauthorized immigrants, unauthorized immigrants, you mean illegal aliens. Illegal aliens is the word you're looking for? Thank you. Shielded from deportation under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program set to expire March 5th. Trump agreed to the deal but reversed course a few hours later, Schumer said. Schumer then took the proposed wall funding off the table on Sunday, he told Business Insider. Congress on Monday passed a bill which later Trump signed to fund the government through the 8th and end the shutdown. The minority leader Tuesday confirmed the deal was not part of current negotiations. He said, "We're going to have to start on a new basis, and the wall offer is off the table." So Senator Schumer now has been getting protests outside of his house. People saying, if you won't let us dream, we won't let you sleep. Because a lot of the dreamers have a sense that Chuck Schumer has abandoned DACA. And there's a good reason why. Think about it just for a second. If there's no DACA, that's what I'm looking for, controversy, come November, what in the world will Democrats run for Congress on? Saving Obamacare? Obamacare's lost its teeth. It doesn't really seem to be center stage anymore, which is a shame. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to really peel it back. The mandate is gone, but the stench remains. It really is the only dog that Democrats have left in the fight at this point. If they don't have DACA as the rallying cry, they have no hope of regaining Congress in 2018. It does not behoove Chuck Schumer and the Democrats to have this problem solved. On Twitter this past week, I said, I don't agree with DACA, I'm against it, but many are asking, why would the DNC drop it? Easy. If it's solved before November, they can't run on it as a divisive, energizing issue. If the GOP simultaneously build the wall and fix DACA, then it is over for the Democrats. They will have no chance. This is completely true. If there is no wedge issue to unite the disparate branches of the Democratic Party behind, then the Trump administration and their supporters will trounce the Democrats in the 2018 midterm election. Go to the Blaze. Chris Fields wrote on the 25th, Senate Democrat leaders announced Tuesday they are willing to end their demands that a so-called DACA fix be part of the final spending regulations to keep the government open, according to Politico. Last week, Senate Democrats insisted that the permanent legislative solution for Dreamers, the name given to recipients of former President Barack Obama's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, had to be part of the temporary spending bill. President Trump announced in September that the DACA program would end March 5th. When Republicans authored the stopgap bill, it did not contain Dreamer language. Democrats blocked the bill's passage on Friday, which resulted in a shutdown. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer convinced his caucus Monday to agree to deal with the Republicans to pass a 3-week spending bill to reopen the government that does not address DACA. In exchange, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell promised to bring the bill up on an immigration reform bill next month. The agreement also stipulated that the bill would be open to amendments. The Senate deal infuriated many DACA supporters, including several members of Congress and their constituents. Some immigration protests even took their complaints directly to Schumer's home in New York City. Now, Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin, in a true about face, has said we're viewing, by meaning immigration and spending, on separate terms because they are on separate paths. Interesting. This is coming from Senator Dick Durbin, who is fairly well known for integrating disparate pieces of legislature into the same bill. Now, the current spending bill expires on February 8th. So if Senate Democrats do not drop their DACA demands, lawmakers face the specter of another government shutdown. Democrats have admitted that because of the McConnell agreement, a shutdown would stand in the way of an immigration reform bill. So here's the question. Why in the world would the Democrats want to give up their only ammunition prior to November? The point is, they don't, and they won't. Dreamers, awaken! You are pawns in the political game. Chuck Schumer doesn't want to help you. Chuck Schumer doesn't need to help you. You are being played. The dream you are so named for is quickly turning into a nightmare. And the Democrats will keep you asleep for years as they get you to go to the polling booth again and again. Because that's what it's all about. The reason the Democratic Party wants the Dreamers to become American citizens is twofold. Number one, it's a wedge issue that will keep them getting elected again and again and again until they get their way. Number two, if they get their way, they have a built-in base of Democrat voters that they can use to continue to gerrymander small Senate and House races for decades to come. Think about it. Dreamers are the most valuable political pawns in the game for the Democratic Party. And what I'm about to say is controversial. Hell, I don't agree with DACA. I really don't. It was an unconstitutional power grab by President Obama that should have zero legal standing. It relies purely upon prosecutorial discretion of the president. It doesn't rely on law. It relies on a circumvention of the law in order to exist. I disagree with it vehemently. But if President Trump and the current Republicans in control of Congress were to spearhead a movement to create a clear path to citizenship for the Dreamers, And by path to citizenship, I believe Rush said it earlier this week, and I agree with it, that you set a time frame, such and such years of good behavior, and you can be admitted to the United States to live, but not to vote, and have the eventual citizenship. But what has to be built into that is an inability to take part in the political system for X number of years until you've actually become a full-blown American citizen. If you make it a 10-year or 15-year glide path to citizenship and you solve that problem, what do you come out as? Big damn heroes. Ain't we just? That is the path forward. In order to defeat the Democrats in 2018, in order to assert constitutionalism in this country, we must embrace the dreamers. We must embrace the dreamers. Because the Democrats have abandoned them for convenience and strategy. To the dreamers I say, be pawns no longer. Awaken, my friends. Awaken to the Constitution, to the Republic that you so adore, that you're willing to break laws to stay here. Awaken and realize you're being played. Should these people morally get a free pass? No, they absolutely should not. Especially when I personally know at least one man whose heart was broken by the fact that he could not legally emigrate to the United States, who visits constantly but loves this nation so much that he cannot bring himself to overstay in violation of its laws. Should these people get a free pass? No. But should that piece be removed from the playing board so that the Democrats cannot continue to use it against the Republicans and other people who love the Constitution and who love our freedoms and our liberties? Well, folks, in my view, that negotiation needs to stay at the table. And we may need to embrace the dreamers, as I said. You're listening to the HollowNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up this one-year anniversary of the HollowNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network. Stick around.
You're listening to the HollowNet on Lanterns Media Network. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins here.
We're back. You're listening to the HollowNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network. 4 days ago, President Donald Trump, according to the New York Times, said he is open to a glide path to citizenship after 10 to 12 years for hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants brought to the United States as children, days after rejecting a bipartisan plan with that as its centerpiece. Mr. Trump once again seemed to undercut his administration's message, telling reporters at the White House that he would allow the young immigrants known as Dreamers to morph into citizens over a period of time. Over a period of 10 to 12 years, Mr. Trump said, "Wait, Mr. Trump? Why is the New York Times referring to him as Mr. Trump? It's President Trump. Come on, fools. Somebody does a great job. They work hard. That gives incentive to do a good job. whatever they're doing, if they do a great job, I think it's a nice thing to have the incentive of, after a period of years, being able to become a citizen. So if anybody's going to light me up over my previous statements over a glide path to citizenship and embracing the dreamers in this way, he said it. All right? He said it before I did. Actually, hang on a second. That was 4 days ago. January 4th, so the 20th. All right, we said it about the same time, but that's all right. Fact of the matter is, as long as the Dreamers and as long as DACA remain a valuable pawn for the Democratic Party, they're going to continue to beat us over the head with it. Can't allow that to happen. And what I would encourage is for people on both sides of this issue, left and right, to come together, comment, let me know what you think. What is the most desirable path, the most ethical path, the most moral path for these people to take? I would say the most moral path for someone to take when they don't belong in this country and they know they don't is leave. Bye-bye. Adios. Tintate. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. That's just me. The very nature of having a republic the way we do is that it needs to be all right for us to disagree. It must be not only acceptable, it must be appreciated and lauded that we have different solutions to the various problems that exist in our country. E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. We have many faces, but we speak with one voice. We come from diverse backgrounds, but we believe that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What brings us all together is the dream of America. So how can we sit in our respective echo chambers and decry others who have a different solution to the problem? If your solution to the Dreamers is just let them in, I'm going to disagree with you harshly, vehemently, but I'm never going to impugn your right to have an opinion on the matter, nor should you impugn mine. And we looked at earlier the feelings, the general questions that people are asking of Google. You know, are Republicans sociopaths, or Republicans are sociopaths? Democrats are losers. This is what we think of each other. We have a lot of problems that we must fix as a people. But the first problem we must fix is in our own hearts. Do you, if you're on the left, dehumanize me because I'm a conservative? Do I dehumanize you because you're a liberal? That is the problem. We must dig deep within ourselves to root out the evil within us. Shine a light on it. Because that's the only thing that darkness fears, is the light. We say here at Lanterns Media Network, we're here to fix the machine. Before we fix the machine, we need to fix the operators. We need to fix the designers and the builders and the planners. We need to fix the people who are operating the machine. Only then can we fix the machine. And that's why here at the HollowNet podcast, we hold the line against the night. As I said in that first episode, the night isn't the rise of the left. It isn't socialists getting their way or progressives getting their way, even though I staunchly disagree with those things. The night is when those voices, all voices, stop and are subsumed and consumed by one single voice. When the chorus becomes one command. That's the darkness. The darkness can come from either the left or the right. It could be fascism, it could be socialism. It could be Nazis, it could be communists. But it's darkness all the same. The Washington Post makes me laugh every time I look at their masthead where it says, "Democracy dies in darkness." Everything dies in darkness. Everything dies in darkness. President Trump isn't that darkness. The Republicans in Congress aren't that darkness. President Barack Obama wasn't that darkness. The Democrats weren't that darkness. The darkness is in our hearts. It's in that we are so easily manipulated that we can be made to hate each other with such ease and simplicity. That you can hate a person because they have a Confederate flag on their bumper. For no other reason than you've been told that you should hate that person. The fact that racism is taught, not born into. That's the darkness. It's not just about race or ethnicity or political opinion. It's about how easy it is to dismiss another person's humanity. Whether individually or in groups, that's the darkness we need to fight against. So if you agree with me, that's great. If you like listening to me, that's even better. Please like, subscribe, and share. I need all the help that I can get. But the night we're holding the line against here is dehumanization. And that is something that left, right, Republican, Democrat, all the third parties under the sun, everyone can agree on. Now, some of you are religious, some of you aren't. If you've listened to this show for any stretch of time, you know I am a man of faith. And I'll end this 1-year anniversary show the way I always have. Thank you for listening to the HollowNet podcast. Good night. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America. From Phoenix, I'm Matt Holloway.
The past few days, when I've been at that window upstairs, I've thought a bit of the shining city upon a hill. The phrase comes from John Winthrop, who wrote it to describe the America he imagined. What he imagined was important because he was an early pilgrim, an early freedom man. He journeyed here on what today we call a little wooden boat, and like the other pilgrims, he was looking for a home that would be free. I've spoken of the shining city all my political life, but I don't know if I ever quite communicated what I saw when I said it. But in my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds living in harmony and peace. A city with free ports that hummed with commerce and creativity. And if there had to be city walls, the walls had doors, and the doors were open to anyone with the will and the heart to get here. That's how I saw it and see it still. And how stands the city on this winter night? More prosperous, more secure and happier than it was 8 years ago. But more than that, after 200 years, 2 centuries, she still stands strong and true on the Granite Ridge, and her glow is held steady, no matter what storm. And she's still a beacon, still a magnet for all who must have freedom, for all the pilgrims from all the lost places who are hurtling through the darkness toward home. We've done our part, and as I walk off into the city streets, a final word to the men and women of the Reagan Revolution, the men and women across America who for 8 years did the work that brought America back. My friends, we did it. We weren't just marking time. We made a difference. We made the city stronger. We made the city freer. And we left her in good hands. All in all, not bad. Not bad at all. And so, goodbye. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Holloway, and I hope you're enjoying our podcast so far. It's been exciting putting this together for you, and I'm looking forward to many more to come. I did want to let you know that in setting up the HollowNet and getting everything launched here, we've gone ahead and set up a page on Patreon.com. Now, if you haven't heard of Patreon, Patreon is a website that's similar to other crowdfunding sources that allows you to the HollowNet and getting everything launched here. We've gone ahead and set up a page on Patreon.com. Now, if you haven't heard of Patreon, Patreon is a website that's similar to other crowdfunding sources that allows you to the HollowNet and getting everything launched here. We've gone ahead and set up a page on Patreon.com and to keep that political dialogue alive. So I'd like to humbly ask you today to consider becoming a patron of the HollowNet on Patreon.com, and you can access that at Patreon.com/theHollowNet. We have various levels of patronage. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month, which unlocks exclusive content for the Patreon community, such as a feed of patron-only content. Then you have a $5 option, which gives you behind-the-scenes access to blog about the different inspirations that we have. It'll give you access to patrons-only polling. And then we have a $10 option, which gives you a signed digital poster plus everything else. $20 option, which gives you name in the credits on the site, and all other rewards. And we even have a segment sponsor package available on Patreon, which is $125 a month, which entitles you and your business to a 60-second ad as a segment sponsor during the podcast, of course, subject to content approval. So if you would like to become a patron of the HollowNet, we would be greatly thankful to you, and it's going to go toward a solid cause of generating this sort of millennial, constitutional, conservative content that is so lacking in our media today. So thank you for your time, for your consideration, and for being a part of the HollowNet. Here we hold the line against the night, and the millennial conservative resistance begins here.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.